Welcome back to What Are Noobs with General Disturbance. This is the T-34-85. It's the Tier 6 Soviet Premium Medium. It's located on the north spawn of Prokhorovka Encounter under the command of the Crazy Platypus. Game on! Now you can see he's got 2 marks of excellence on the barrel of that 85mm gun. It's capable of doing 180 alpha and penetrating 144mm of armor with standard AP, and with a premium, the APCR, it will go through 194, and with the HE rounds it will do 300 if it can pen, but remember it needs to pen to do that. It's a tier 7 game with tier 5 tanks in it, and this is one of the go-to medium tanks if you want to do some platooning with others, or in clan wars and the like. The other, of course, being a Cromwell B. Quite a handy little tank. When they first came out, the T-34-85M, I think a lot of people took theirs out, and well, it was absolutely wolf pack time, because you just get together with a group of other players and just descend on an enemy tank, and everyone would tear it to shreds very quickly. They did have a little mini marathon, I seem to remember, when they actually did hand them out for free, but since then, of course, it's been available in the gift shop, or the premium shop I should say, as one of the regular tanks you can buy. There's Cromwell. It's the British version of this same tank, but of course that tank does not have the same gun that this one does, and in fact he just took a hit from a T-34-85 up on top of the hill, which actually bounced off the armour. Now what sells this tank really is the 85mm gun. You may know the story, but the fact is that the Russians were looking for a gun that was capable of penetrating Tigers, and the 76mm that was standard on the T-34 wasn't enough to cut it. So they decided an 85mm gun might do it, and in fact it could actually penetrate a Tiger. But the problem was that the turret, or the turret ring, wasn't big enough to actually take an 85mm gun. So they had to redesign the turret altogether to make it able to fit the 85mm gun. But they did manage to succeed, and what you popped out the other end was the T-34-85. Now it's got 90mm at the front of the turret, 75 at the sides and 52 at the rear. On the hull it's 75mm, 45 at both sides and rear. The problem is that there are some weak spots on the front of the hull, and it's fairly easy to spot them. It is angled armour, but it's fairly easy to spot the weak spots, and of course that makes it fairly easy to hit the enemy tank and take it out if you know where to aim. Now, despite the fact that he's actually been hit, nobody's trying to hit him anymore. Of course, it is an encounter game, and by being where he is at the moment, he's watching for any enemy tanks sitting up on top of the hill. And they have put somebody in the cap, but only briefly. Top speed is 53 kilometers an hour. Not very fast, but fast enough. The reload time is the best thing about it, or one of the best things actually, because it can pump a round out every 5 seconds. He's got 4.37 Crazy Platypus, and there is somebody in the cap area. The 85mm is very reliable, and you just keep pumping away those shells. It's got over 2,100 DPM. Rather satisfying noise as well when you fire, and then you see that damage roll as it goes through. And another one, that was good, into the engine bay there. Got a high roll for 194. Now, there's only one in cap so far, and of course it is an encounter game, which means it takes twice as long to cap out. If our Cromwell was to go up on top of the hill, he'd let us know, but there's a baguette. Yes, the French Panther, the Baguette Panther, and he just took around in the engine bay. Can we get another one in? Fire blind on that one because we didn't get to see exactly where he is. He's gone into the bushes. Platypus is making good use of this cover. He hasn't been spotted since he's been firing. since he got spotted the first time. Now, he doesn't want to give away his position to, again, if he can help it. That baguette's somewhere down there, just in the trees, in the bushes rather. The Cromwell's just not moving up to find out where he is. Oh, there he is. He pulled back. We tried to go for the rear of the turret, and he's pulled back altogether. So he must have actually doubled back up the hill using the bushes for cover, because he's back up there. Let's get the details again, because it's useful to actually know what types of tank we're facing. There's KV-1. You'll easily go through a KV-1's armour. Slice straight through it. He's still there. And there's a kill. The kill actually went to the T-34-85M on our team. Now whoever's capping has managed to accumulate nearly 1/3 of the cap points. So we're going to interrupt the cap and go and harvest those, I think. Just she needs to use the buildings for cover if in case there is anyone up on the hill. Remember, the baguette should be up there somewhere. He's being very cautious. Might be a good idea. There's the baguette. Okay, right. He's found the baguette. And he's just expired. Went down to our 7Vente M41. So I think we're getting close to whoever it is, and we'll know very shortly, because we'll probably see him. And there's the AMX 1375, takes one round with a high roll on him. And another one, low roll this time, 157. Go for the kill. Yes, he got him. Okay, but the enemy was firing at that. Yes, and he's now receiving fire from a Wolverine. I'll put one back into him. Yes, nice. And he dodged the shell that came back. Still, he did take two 76mm rounds. Trying to get over to this side. That's better. He's got more cover over here. And he has left the cap area. Now, there's 6 enemies out there somewhere, and it looks like they're over on the other side of the map. So he's going to take out this KV-1 first. Very accurate gun. It's a very useful gun, actually. I love this the sound it makes as well. Very reassuring every time you get one of those into the target. Okay, he's right up on top of this ridgeline, which is not normally a good thing to do, because obviously you stick out like a sore thumb when you come towards the enemy. But I think he's reasonably certain that the enemy who are just over this ridgeline here, and one of the problems with this tank is it's only got 7 degrees of gun depression, but you see he's right in front of that AT7 at the moment. He fires one back, ow, but he gets hit by the Panther with the 75mm. There he is. Didn't get him with that one. If he pops up, the AT7's probably going to have a go at him as well. Oh, he got one in. Okay, and the high roll. Go for it again. Yep. And we almost capped out there. But I think somebody said no cap, kill all. Oh, we took 2 shots there from the Panther and the Stug. But the that was the Stug dying, so it's just the Panther up here now and the AT7 behind us. And we're still taking rounds of the Panther. We can't afford to take any more. So stay low. He's trying to be as careful as he can. Only 7 degrees gun depression really can hamper you, but that Panther is now getting attacked by the Panzer IV Ausführung H. That didn't penetrate the top of the turret, but he can do it again. Side of the turret. And the kill goes down. And that means now there's only the AT7, but remember, he's only got enough hit points. Well, he hasn't got enough really to survive. Only 20. So he needs somebody else's help to distract that AT7. Doesn't want to get too close, because if he gets spotted, he's going to have to use his speed to try and get around the AT7 and get to the the non-pointy end. Oh, he does get him in the side. Now stay on his rear. Keep pumping those rounds in. He's using the premium ammo now, and the kill goes in, and it goes to the Cromwell, and that game is a victory. Here's the end of battle stats, and that was an ace tanker game for the TheCrazyPlatypus in the T-34-85M. He managed to get a spotter badge for spotting at least 1,000 hit points of damage during the game, a fine for effect for doing more damage than hit points of his own vehicle, a bruise the medal for getting at least 5 critical hits, in fact he got 7. Excuse me. He also managed to get a high caliber for dealing the most damage in that game overall, and that's down to that good DPM that it produces, as well as a patrol duty of being the only one spotting 6 enemy vehicles whilst they were damaged, and a Confederate as well for hitting more of the enemy than anyone else on his team. And his win rate from that one was 8,729. Let's have a look at the team score and see where everyone was. Well, the highest damage was 3,864 hit points, and that was the high caliber. The second highest damage in the game actually went to the Panther. He was chasing there towards the end of the game, 1,618 hit points to him. And the third highest damage was a Wizzy 131 GFT that really he didn't actually engage with in that game. He got a tank sniper and 1,409 hit points out of it. When it came to kills, it was the Semavente that did the best. The Semavente M41 got 4 kills in that game. 2 kills went to TheCrazyPlatypus, the Cromwell, and the T-25-AT on his team, and only 1 player on the enemy team managed to get more than 1 kill, and that was the Panther. When it came to base XP, yep, he's got that one, 1,560, a very good score indeed. 822 went to the Cromwell and 698 to the T-52. He was the only player to get over 1,000. The T-52 picked up a patrol duty as well, so he was obviously doing a good job spotting as well on the other side, I think, of the map. I think he was spotting over on the west side of the map. The TheCrazyPlatypus fired 33 rounds in that game. You do get a decent amount of ammunition. It's 60 rounds, so he used more than half his ammo. 27 direct hits on the enemy, 22 penetrations. It's one of the most decent guns in the game at that tier, because as I said, it's that 85mm. It's a cross between a 90 and an 88, you might say, or it's sort of like the cross between a 75 and a 90mm. Yes, to say that it's 85mm. It's not quite an 88, but it's capable of doing decent damage at a reasonably fast fire rate. 3,864 hit points of damage, of which 1,409 were at more than 300 meters. He was shooting some of those shots up onto the hill and hitting the tanks that came down the hill. 8 hits received from the enemy though, 6 penetrations, 2 non-penetrations, and 330 hit points of damage blocked by armor. Yes, it can take a decent amount of damage, but the problem was I think he was getting more than a few shots that were going through the side of the vehicle, and towards the end of the game he was running out of hit points, and it was making it very difficult for him to prosecute the action against that Panther. So it was a good job that Panzer IV Ausführung H did come in when it did, because if it hadn't, the Panther might have been trying to take TheCrazyPlatypus down instead. He did spot 1 enemy vehicle, damaged 10 of the enemy, killed 2, 1,418 hit points of spotting assist, and he got 31 defense points by resetting the cap. He earned 87,513 credits from the game, 50,000 for completing a mission, 137,513 credits altogether. And after repair ammunition resupply, he actually took away a profit of 92,503 credits for the game. Decent score. 2,340 XP times 2 for the first victory. 702 for this being a premium vehicle, took away 5,382 experience points altogether. It's actually quite a decent tank to actually do your crew training in, and I'd highly recommend you get one of these, because if you haven't got one, you're missing out. It can be quite an earner in terms of credits as well as training for crews, so do consider it if you haven't got it. But it might take you a little while to get up to the sort of level that the TheCrazyPlatypus managed to display in this game. Let's have a quick look at the armor. You can see that the armor on the turret is actually quite strong, mostly at the front, and obviously because this tank was designed and based to actually try and take on things like Tiger tanks and of course the high velocity guns on Panthers. And you can see at the front there of the turret, it's 90mm coming up to 107 with the, oh, you can see even at the edges it's coming up to more than that, much more than that, but obviously it's because it's so well rounded. Sorry, I've got a bit of a tickle in the cough there. The gun mantlet itself, 90mm plus a bit more, so it's quite strong. The cupola is even quite strong because that's 90mm, and you wouldn't expect cupolas normally to be quite that strong. But a lot of players, if they do see a T-34-85 in a hull down position, they probably will actually aim for the cupola to try and get through. But it's probably your best bet to do that. Either that or hope that he turns his turret, because then you should be able to get through the sides of the turret because it's only 75mm there. The sides of the vehicle, 45mm coming up to about 53. I forgot to mention the front. On the front actually it's 75mm coming up to 107 with the angling. It's very well angled. You can see that very nice slope on the T-34. But of course that driver's hatch, that's the hatch there. If you can get a shot through that driver's hatch, and there's a driver's viewport there where it's only 0mm, so to speak. But that's the machine gun port as well. That's another weak spot, so to speak, but it's showing 90mm here, 93. Yes, I'd say go for those sweet spots if you can, if you're looking at it from the front. If you can hit it from the sides, do that instead, because of course the whole sides of the vehicle is fairly weak. And of course, if you're hitting it with an Arty, the shell's coming in from above, 15mm on top, so you'll easily penetrate that if you can get an Arty round onto it. Excuse me. Let's have a look at the live model. If you can see with the live model, and this is firing a 85mm round, you can see the hull is weak, but the turret is quite strong. It's nicely rounded, which makes it easy to bounce shells. Of course, you can go through those weak spots at the side and the cheeks if you've got the 85mm round, so you probably will be able to penetrate that with an 85mm, but with a 75mm, you might have a bit of difficulty getting through the cheeks of it. But the turret is fairly strong, but it gets weaker as you look at the sides, so you want to keep the face towards the enemy as you're coming towards them. And they'll probably try and aim for the hull, which is the easiest bet for them, to try and get through the hull. And if you can, try and get the sides of the vehicle if you can shoot at it that way. Let's have a quick look at the modules. Okay, we've got the driver on the right-hand side, the gunner on the left-hand side. Oh, that's the driver's mate, rather, is the machine gunner. We've got the gunner for the tank is actually on the right-hand side of the turret. He's got the tank commander directly behind him. That's where that cupola is located. The loader is on the left-hand side of the tank. There is an ammo rack in the bustle. It's the ready shells, which he's then shoving through the breech. In fact, there's two ammo racks you can see, because there's another one on this side here as well. So there is also ammo racks directly underneath the center of the turret, and there's another ammo rack actually in the hull. It's quite a big one as well. If you can get the shell to go through the tracks, then you might hit that thing and set that off as well, because that's quite a big one. At the back we've got the engine, but it's the fuel tanks are actually right at the rear of the vehicle here, not normally sandwiched on either side of the engine. The engine's so big, they've actually put the fuel tanks at the very back, and normally this tank would have drums at the back which are actually not directly connected to the fuel tanks. The idea was that they would carry those drums, and if the drums did get holed by enemy fire, they would just drain the fuel out of the tanks as it was driving along. But it wouldn't actually then cause any problems for the tank. If you wanted to refuel the tank, you just connect a hose and you just allow the fuel to drip into the tanks, but they weren't actually connected during battle at all. So there you go, that's the T-34-85M. I hope you enjoyed that replay. It was a very good game for Crazy Platypus. He played it slow to start with because he wanted to try and snipe at the enemy and get them down to enough small enough numbers on the hill. He was just protecting the village from the hill. But once he went into the village and went into action, he certainly did get a lot of damage on the enemy, and he proved very effective in that game. If you enjoyed that replay, please give it a like, do subscribe to our channel, leave a little comment down below because it beats the algorithm, and thank you for watching.